Kamala even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports. Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Opinions Vary. That's Opinions with an A. And today we're going to look at another Abby Phillips CNN roundtable with Scott Jennings enjoying every minute of the conversation while everybody else on the panel, including Abby Phillips, breaks down emotionally around him. Without any further ado, let's get into it.
Fear and loathing. It's what Donald Trump bet on in one of his most controversial ads of this presidential campaign. And looking at the results from Tuesday night, some people think it might have worked.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
Kamala supports transgender sex changes in jail with our money.
Kamala even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports. Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
That was the ad, according to many people. That was a sleeper issue in this campaign. Julie?
Wasn't a sleeper issue. It was a big issue for people paying attention.
I have a house in Pennsylvania, and I saw that ad 24/7. And at the time, I thought to myself,
I just got to stop it real quick. You hear what you just said? I have a house in Pennsylvania, meaning she owns more than one house. So we know where she's coming from. She's in the top probably 5, maybe 3-4% of the country as far as wealth.
Way to exploit a vulnerable community. I thought it was disgusting, and I still think it's disgusting. However, I do think Democrats have a very, very hard time communicating on not just this issue, but on a lot of issues with average voters.
You can't communicate on this issue because it's such a slam dunk common sense issue that it's impossible for you to push back on it without sounding crazy, which you do very well. Sounding crazy, that is.
We have to acknowledge that we have a problem communicating. The White House spent an awful lot of time. We talked about Abby before this. They didn't know how to communicate their position. The Biden economy was a good economy. You may disagree with me statistically, it was. They didn't communicate it, that it was getting better and better, right?
Yeah. I love this line. It was getting better, we swear. Just give us more time and more of your money. That's the whole progressive, that's the mantra. Just give us more time, more of your money, and utopia awaits. Trust us. Please trust us. We know it's better for you. Better than you. We know what's better for you, better than you know yourself. That's the mantra.
And that they needed to see it through. They needed to communicate to people during these college protests. And I know there's a lot of hard feelings on both sides of the issue on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. But when you have kids trashing college campuses and preventing other people from studying, if you're a parent, you look at that and you say, I just saved up hundreds of thousands of dollars or took out massive loans to send my kids to college, and they can't make it to class because then some administration can't keep their own students under control. And the White House doesn't have a viewpoint on this because they don't want to offend one segment or the other.
Good point. Like I said, when you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody. And that's what happened there. The fact, again, it's such a clear-cut issue. No, you can't. You can protest. You can protest peacefully, but you don't prevent other people from going about their lives. You're right. They couldn't even make a stand on that because they're weak. They're trying to please everybody. You try to please everybody, you please nobody. And then you lose an electoral college and popular vote landslide.
Or to some extent, people putting pronouns after their names. Just call me by my pronoun. And by the way, if you call me by the wrong pronoun, I'll correct you and we'll move on. You don't have to virtue signal about everything. But they didn't do, it's the constant.
Was she saying this before she got steamrolled on Tuesday? Probably not.
Virtue.
At least there's a little self-reflection here, a little bit.
Signaling, I think, that really alienates people because what most people care about is what they care about. They just want people to be authentic and take positions. And I think as Democrats, sometimes we are so busy trying to figure out how to appeal to Scott because Scott lives in Kentucky and Scott's a white man. And how do I speak to Scott? And I speak to Scott differently than I speak to Abby, than I speak to Julie. And the reality is, you know what I know about Scott? He's got kids who love Pokemon, and so do I. And sometimes those kids talk about Pokemon trading cards. We can talk about the same thing. We don't need to sit there and constantly.
Scott Jennings is killing me. Scott Jennings is becoming a superstar before our eyes. If he keeps doing this, he'll become a media superstar as far as the Republican, conservative, right side goes. His face is, I've said in other videos, I'm jealous. The way he now gets to sit here and just bask in the glow of their misery that they still can't figure out why they're this miserable. It's really it's something to watch.
We try to segment how we talk to people. We don't have to look at focus groups at all times to figure it out. Common sense is common sense.
I love the spirit of what you're saying. The only difference is I think it's more than a communication problem. I think it's deeper. I think it's the soul of the Democratic Party. It's about the beliefs.
It's a policy problem.
About the values. It's not simply a comms problem.
Inclusive.
It's that why couldn't it's a courage problem too. It's a courage in standing up against the progressive wing of the party. Why can't any Democrat just say something simple like, of course, we have no problem. After you're above 18, do what you want, live and let live. This is America. But below 18, if you can't get a tattoo, you also can't consort to hormone therapy.
That's not.
What he just said is the most common sense thing that normal people understand and relate to and think that's the way it should be. That's what normal people think. Now he's now triggered them, and they're gonna go into the unnormal.
Play whatever sport you want. But you can't play against people that have a natural disadvantage against you. This is common sense, and no Democrat can say this. That's deeper than a communication problem.
It's not common sense.
This guy needs to get his testosterone checked. This guy with this, I don't know what color suit that is, but that suit probably costs more than my truck.
It's not. I worked very, very hard for weeks, months in our local school board, and so many Americans know what this is like. We got thumped and threatened and beaten over trans kids using the bathroom. It was horrifying.
People aren't comfortable with the opposite sex using their children's bathroom. Again, that's what normal people don't want. They don't want that. You can't see that. And you want to talk about getting thumped? Did the FBI get sent to anybody's house on your side from speaking their mind at a school board meeting? I don't think so. I don't recall any stories of that happening.
What my community went through. I mean, and what the trans kids community. We had a woman in the back who yelled, "You're brainwashed," to a person who identified as trans. She got elected to the board. We can't compete. You say we have to be better on messaging. Tell me what we're supposed to do when Donald Trump says boys are going to school and getting a surgery and coming home as girls. The fact that anybody would believe that is insane to me. But how?
No transgender surgeries are happening to minors right now in the country. Is that what you're saying? Pete Dominic? That's this guy's name, Pete Dominic?
How do we
let me just say this.
Combat that? I don't know what to do.
One of the aspects of this.
We should be protecting vulnerable people, but we can't.
The issue.
You're right. We should be protecting vulnerable people, also known as children.
Issues underlying that are a whole discussion. But in this particular campaign, unless you live in one of these battleground states, you may not have known, if you heard Kamala Harris talking, that this was an issue that in October, according to the spending, constituted 21% of Republican ad spending in this election.
Which issue?
That ad and this issue of trans people. Yeah. And the response from the Democrats was nothing. Literally nothing.
I don't think this ad.
There is no response. Again, you can't respond You can't respond to a normal person in terms that they're going to agree with when it comes to this issue. It's such a clear-cut issue. Nobody has a problem over 18 as long as you're not breaking the law. Do whatever you want. Live and let live. But when you go and you start indoctrinating and, yes, brainwashing children, that's where we draw the line. As Pete Dominic said, protect the most vulnerable. Right, the most vulnerable. Again, children. That's the most vulnerable, to protect them from your ideology.
Ad should be held up as a model for how to talk to people.
Oh, no.
You mean telling them the truth? Catherine Rampell. I said in the video I did last night, the most loathsome twerp on television right here.
Oh, and I feel like that's sort of the sentence.
Let me just be very clear. This ad, I'm not saying that this ad is the way to address the issue of trans people, who are people, by the way. And I don't.
Oh God, they're people. I didn't know that. I thought they were from Mars. They're so loathsome. They're so loathsome. And Abby Phillips, you're supposed to be a moderator on this panel, on your panels, on your show. You're a debater. You and everybody else except Scott Jennings and maybe the other conservative you have. You're all debating whoever you bring on the show. You're not a moderator. You're not a journalist. Nobody. This Catherine Rampell, who said something hysterical yesterday on the video I posted. that she's a journalist, she's not a Democrat. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. That should be that's comedy gold.
And I'm not holding it up as a paragon of ads. I'm just saying the reporting is the Trump campaign ran this ad and their numbers came back and said this was the top ad for them. It worked the best out of all the things that they tried. Sure. And there was no response to it at all.
Of course, you don't think they run these ads and see the response? They're spending millions of dollars. Millions, both campaigns. Millions of dollars to target and see what ads resonate the most. And if this ad resonated, obviously it was striking a chord with a vast majority of the population that you ignore. And no, again, you have no response to this. This is not a debatable issue to normal people. And as we just were reassured of in this last election, that yes, the majority of this country is still normal. We need now to run with that and make sure it gets more normal.
But there's a larger issue here, right? And the larger issue is this. The White House would constantly get into these little Twitter wars or little meme wars, for example, with Steve Doocy from Fox News, right? Constantly, they would try to own Steve Doocy from Fox News. Well, I'm sorry. Who cares about Steve Doocy from Fox News? That's great for Steve Doocy, but the average American person doesn't know who he is. That's
on the trans issue?
They know who he is, or it might be Peter Doocy she's talking about, because Steve Doocy does Fox in the morning, and Peter Doocy is the White House correspondent. I'm not sure which one she's referring to right now. She might be mixed up. She might not be. But more people know both of them than know you or pretty much anyone on CNN, because the only one really watching this is people like me to do these videos and close friends and family of the on-air talent.
Well, no, just generally. Generally. And what they do is they wasted time on that. They should have looked straight into the camera every single day and said, you know what? We just passed a bipartisan infrastructure bill. And in Northampton County, Pennsylvania, or in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, on Route 212, thanks to our bill, there's a pothole on Regalsville Road, and we filled it. That pothole that you've been riding on for the last 10 years, thanks to us, we filled it.
That right there, it puts into focus the whole problem of thinking in the Democrat Party, that the federal government should be the one fixing a pothole on a local road in Bucks County, which I believe the Republicans flipped, by the way, this time around. Bucks County should be fixing the pothole in Bucks County, not the federal government from Washington, D.C., worried about a pothole in Bucks County. That is a microcosm of their whole warped sense of what the federal government should be doing. They want the federal government involved in fixing a pothole on a road in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. That's why you're losing, and that's why you lost, and that's why I hope you continue to lose, because I hope people start realizing that the federal government is not your cradle-to-the-grave caregiver to be involved in every aspect of your life. Local elections should honestly be more important than national elections. Your local elections are very important. That's the way it's supposed to be. They're the ones who see the issues right in front of in your community. They're the ones that can fix them quickly. You don't want to deal with the federal government to fix a pothole in Bucks County. Absolutely ridiculous, and that right there explains their whole problem.
Instead of that, they're talking about little memes with Steve. I mean, again, the messaging was all over the place as opposed to laser focusing on their accomplishments. And I'm sorry to say, it was a huge missed opportunity. And you ask why Biden's numbers consistently went down. It's because nobody ever effectively communicated his accomplishments over and over and over and over.
You can't effectively communicate accomplishments that aren't good. They just don't get it. You can't do it. People see through it now. You're not running the narrative where you're going to be like, you're going to tell people, things are great. Trust us. Things are great. Things are great. No, you don't just have 3 news stations, the New York Times and the Washington Post, running a narrative now. Beside the fact that people feel what they feel, see what they see, hear what they hear in their own lives. So all of that combined now, you're starting to lose your stranglehold, and they are terrified by it.
Again, and they should have, because they are vast. They are vast.
I think... I hate to let you guys in on a secret, but I will.
All right, let's go, Scott.
The ad works not because of the trans issue. The ad works.
So Charlemagne.
The ad works because it communicates something about what this person as a politician would say yes to when it comes to either your tax dollars or doing something, in this case, for an inmate population. Well over half the country sits around all the time going, why is the government so focused on everyone but me? There's a lot of people in this country who believe they've been crushed by COVID, crushed by inflation, crushed because of their values, crushed because of where they live or who they are or what they believe in. And so the ad works not because it's targeted at the trans community.
Yes, that's why.
The ad works.
This guy's about to start. He's getting emotional. His estrogen is kicking up, and he's about to start losing it.
Because it is they're showing you what this president would be willing to do with your money and who they would pander to if they were the commander-in-chief, and that's why it was so effective.
What Scott is saying about Americans feeling like the system isn't working for them, I think we can probably all agree that that is true, right?
Well, it's working.
People feel that.
It's
that
working.
people feel that, right? Yeah. So, but and so when the other part of the conversation of the ongoing autopsy Democrats are having is about why aren't they speaking better to working class people? I mean, one of the few demographics that Kamala Harris improved on in this race were people making $100,000 or more. So wealthy people, probably more educated people, they're responding to what the Democrats are doing, and that's not enough people to win elections.
The Democrats, they were so busy actually creating policies, Catherine can talk more about them, that have actually improved the lives of working class people.
But they did talk about them.
But yeah.
I mean, they also did a lot of things for highly educated like college grads.
And here we're going to go with the smug, condescending, looking down your nose at everybody else rant from Miss Rampell. Let's go.
I think to Scott's point about the sort of symbolism, I don't entirely agree with your analysis of that ad. I think you make some good points. I don't entirely agree. But I think another policy that was symbolically about people other than the median voter was the student debt forgiveness, which disproportionately went to, well, first of all, to people who went to college, who are likely to have higher earnings in general, but also the way that it was structured went to a lot of people who are likely to have very high earnings, including.
Okay. Every progressive thought is always contradicted by something else immediately in the same conversation. So she just said the student loans were going to people that are going to have higher paying jobs and better earnings. Well, if you're going to have higher paying jobs and better earnings, why do you need help from the government paying back the loans? Riddle me that one. And also saying that those people, just because they went to college, also in the same time, are going to have better jobs. Wait a minute. Maybe the people who went to college for engineering or, math, the all those, I forget what they call them. It's just escaping my mind right now. But those jobs, those degrees, yes, they're going to have higher earnings. But a lot of these people are going and they're getting degrees in, underwater basket weaving, and you could wipe your, with the degree. So there's a lot going on there, and she just doesn't get it. She, at the same time, saying they're going to make more money, but they need help paying loans back. But she's also never mentioning the fact that a lot of these people are getting degrees, like I said, that are completely worthless. And that's on them. That was the choice they made. I shouldn't have to pay for that. I shouldn't. I have a 4-year degree. But and guess what? When I came out of school, I had $18,000 in student loan debt that I paid off. What should I get that back retroactively now with interest? I mean, the whole argument, again, you can't defend these arguments because normal people aren't buying it because they can't be defended. They can't.
People who are going to become doctors and lawyers and things like that.
They should be able to pay them.
Part of the reason those policies were structured that way and were touted that way is because that's who was staffing this administration. There are people who went to Yale Law School who want their debt forgiven.
Yeah, if you went to Yale Law School, you should be able to come out of school with one of the best paying jobs in the country and not have to worry about, and you should be able to pay off your loans. So what are you talking about? Where are you going with this? She doesn't even know. These are all just talking points she has bouncing around in her head, and she just, go with that one. It's amazing. These, again, uneducated, useless people. And she's the definition, like I said yesterday.
Democratic Party, it has seen itself
overeducated, useless people.
As the party of the working class, multiracial coalition. In any other country in Europe, they'd call themselves the Labor Party because it's the party of labor, right? But what's happened over the past 10 years is that non-college educated working class voters have been hemorrhaged to the Republican Party, and the Democrats have become the party of the college educated. No one would have predicted this 15 years ago. It is a massive devastation and humiliation to the self-concept of the Democratic Party, and it has to be reckoned with right now. That's what's happened. That's what just happened 2 days ago.
But that's my point is this. We segment as Democrats how we talk to people. as a Democrat,
because we're such a diverse party.
No, because listen, what unites us is much, much, much. Actually, we're getting less diverse by the day. If you look at where Latinos are going and African Americans, that's a problem. That's a big problem for us. That's because I would be advised as a Democratic strategist to talk to you on a particular subject, and I would be advised to talk to Abby on a very different subject, and to each of you on a different subject.
But we're very different.
We're not.
Yeah, we have a lot of different interests.
No, we're not. The bottom line is there's a lot more that unites us than divides us, and we start talking to people about common sense issues.
Such a platitude. You know what unites people? Unites people is it's so simple. I say it all the time. Being able to put food on the table, feeling secure, having the ability to move up by just playing by the rules and being a good, lawful, law-abiding citizen. That appeals to people. It's really not that difficult. And when you make things difficult for the people that just want to do that, that's where you lose people. I don't care what race they are, where they're from. Those are the things that normal people, I keep saying it, normal people want. And the Democrat Party has strayed so far from that. I mean, we're not talking about different tax rates or anything like those. Those aren't the issues anymore. The issues now are like we talked about, the bathrooms with transgender and this and trying to cater and coddle every group, to give them everything they want and everything they want. Nobody gets everything they want. Like I said, you try to please everybody all the time, you end up pleasing nobody every time.
Issues and common sense language, rather than trying to figure out how to be too cute by half. That's how you message, and that's not how the last Democratic president who did that well was Bill Clinton.
All right, so there you have it. So, I mean, that one didn't get as much out of control as it usually does with Abby Phillips, but Abby Phillips is such, you're just be a moderator. You're not there to argue with your guests, which is what the media has become on the left. It's become, I don't agree with you, and this is no. You're there to ask the person questions. They give their point of view, especially at a round table like that, and then you're supposed to move to the next person. You're not there to give your opinion as the host. But we've gone so far, so far off of that at this point that's why nobody's watching these anymore. They're echo chambers. And the only reason why I watch them now is because I want to do content like this. I think it's entertaining. It's good to comment on. It's definitely, provides some laughs, and it gives you an insight into how they're thinking. And Scott Jennings definitely adds to it. Like I said, he's becoming a superstar, and good for him. Because I got to be honest, before it's hard to sit through, especially before the election. It's hard to sit through, and it's like you're a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. And he does it very well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please like, share, and subscribe, and continue to follow me at Opinions Vary.